Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Into this explainer, guys. Today we're unpacking a truly fascinating narrative of divine wisdom, leadership transitions, and some really profound lessons on humility hidden deep within history. We're looking at the legacies of two absolute giants, Prophet Dawud and his son, Prophet Suleiman. But we're not just reading off a standard timeline here. We are going to zoom in on the exact moments where immense worldly power collides with absolute divine submission. It's a story that kicks off with an inescapable reality and wraps up with a conversation you would never see coming.
So picture this. We begin with a scene straight out of a locked room mystery. Prophet Dawud is away, and his house is completely secured. Door is locked tight from the outside. Yet, out of nowhere, his wife finds a mysterious stranger just standing right there in the inner chambers. When she confronts him, demanding to know how he got in and telling him to leave before her husband gets back, the guy just stays completely silent. It isn't until Prophet Dawud himself returns and calmly asks the man who he is that the stranger delivers this totally chilling response. No door, no wall, or obstacle can stop me, and I do not need permission to enter. In that split second, Dawud realizes this isn't some human intruder. This is the angel of death.
Let's look at how this sequence unfolds. Once Prophet Dawud understands his appointed time is up, there's absolutely no panic. He doesn't try to use his royal status to negotiate for more years or even months. Instead, he simply asks the angel for just enough time to pray 2 short rockouts. The angel agrees, as long as it fits within the decreed time. So Dawud performs his ablution, stands in prayer, and peacefully passes away while in sujud, in full prostration. It's just a beautiful, poetic end for a king whose entire defining trait was his absolute submission to the Creator.
As you can imagine, the news spread like wildfire. The grief among the Bani Israel was just immense. Over 4,000 scholars alone gathered for his funeral, alongside countless everyday citizens. And they weren't just mourning a ruler, They were mourning a profoundly just guardian who had led them with incredible wisdom and fairness. They had literally lost their protector. But right in the middle of this massive gathering out in the open desert, a super practical problem pops up. The sun is beating down. The heat becomes completely unbearable, and it's getting really hard for the crowd to just stand there and pay their respects. So they turn to Dawud's son, the newly appointed prophet Suleiman, and ask for help. And what does he do? Suleiman commands this massive flock of birds to gather right overhead, using their wings to form a giant canopy of shade. But when the people point out that this dense canopy has totally blocked the wind and made it way too stuffy, Suleiman doesn't just brush them off. He commands the birds to shift, gracefully opening up specific gaps to let the breeze flow right through. It's this stunning display of power, but it's completely rooted in empathy and genuine care for his people.
Section 2. Flashback, the 13-year-old judge. Let's get right into it.
Now, to really grasp Suleiman's unique brand of wisdom, we actually need to rewind a bit. We're jumping back to a few years before this funeral, back to when he was just 13 years old, quietly observing his father's royal court. And here, a deeply disturbing conspiracy unfolds. A well-known, pious woman goes to a local judge to complain about men harassing her for marriage. But instead of helping her, this corrupt judge uses his power to propose to her himself, saying she'd be safe as his wife. When she angrily rejects him and threatens to tell King Dawud, the judge totally panics. He goes out, hires 4 false witnesses, drags her before Dawud, and accuses her of terrible, shameful character. And based strictly on the seemingly solid testimony of these 4 guys, Prophet Dawud, following the exact law of the time, sentences this innocent woman to severe punishment.
As the woman is being dragged away, literally shouting her innocence, 13-year-old Suleiman is just watching. He senses that the pieces of this puzzle just do not fit. Her lifelong reputation for piety completely contradicts these sudden, crazy accusations. And what's really incredible here is the dynamic between the father and son. Suleiman actually steps forward and asks his dad for permission to halt the execution and re-examine the case. And Dawud? He doesn't brush him off as some naive kid. He completely trusts his son's intellect and just hands him the authority to restart the whole trial.
So what happens next? Young Suleiman does something totally revolutionary for that era. He isolates the 4 false witnesses so they can't hear each other's stories. Then he brings them in one by one and hits them with the exact same, highly specific question about this fabricated event. What was the color of the dog that was present? Since the whole thing was a lie, they hadn't coordinated this tiny little detail. Witness 1 says one color, witness 2 says another, and so on. In seconds, the entire fabricated story shatters. The corrupt judge is exposed, the innocent woman walks free, and a 13-year-old boy proves that true justice means you have to look way beneath the surface of the evidence.
Section 3. The King and the Valley of Ants. All right, fast forward, back to his adult reign. King Solomon is now commanding these vast, unparalleled armies of men, jinn, and animals. And it's right here at the absolute height of his worldly power that he encounters a totally different kind of test. While marching, his massive army passes through a valley. Since he can understand animal languages, he suddenly hears this tiny voice. It's the leader of an ant colony shouting a warning to its people. Ants, go to your homes, lest Solomon and his army crush you unknowingly. Hearing this, Solomon brings his entire massive army to a dead halt. He actually smiles, deeply intrigued by the ant's specific choice of that word, unknowingly.
So Suleiman starts a conversation with this tiny creature. He asks the ant, "Why did you assume we would cause harm?" And the ant drops this profound explanation. It says it wasn't accusing the king of being malicious or cruel. It was just stating a fact of nature. Massive power, just by existing, often crushes the small, purely out of ignorance. Big boots don't always look down, right? The ant was literally just doing its job to protect its people from the unintended destruction that often tags along with great power. It is just a mind-blowing philosophical exchange between the ruler of the known world and a little insect on the ground.
Suleiman is just amazed by how much this ant understands about military structures, leadership, and assessing danger. So he asks it, "Where on earth did you learn such profound wisdom?" The ant humbly replies that the exact same God who handed Suleiman his vast empire and knowledge is the very same God who gave the ant its understanding of how to protect its colony. It really drives home the point that divine wisdom isn't restricted by physical size or your status in the world. It's distributed entirely by the Creator however he sees fit. Then the ant does something incredibly bold, though respectful. It actually offers advice to the mighty king. It points out that Suleiman's unique miracle, his control over the wind, has a hidden lesson in it. Think about the wind. It's invisible, it has a massive impact, but you can't hold on to it. It comes and it goes. The ant reminds Suleiman that his earthly power is exactly the same way. It's completely fleeting. It's temporary. When the kingdom is gone and the power fades, the only things that will truly remain are his deeds and his ultimate accountability before God.
Now, before the king departs, the ant leader insists on offering some hospitality, presenting Suleiman with this tiny, microscopic crumb of food. Never want to underestimate the small, and showing just supreme humility, Suleiman gracefully accepts. He recites Bismillah in the name of God and eats. And guys, incredibly, that tiny crumb, because it was blessed by Allah, miraculously provides immense satisfaction not just to the king, but to all the soldiers who share in it. It's this beautiful final reminder that the true value of a gift isn't about how big it is, it's about the divine blessing, the barakah that's placed inside it. And that brings us to our final section, community milestones and final reflections. As we wrap up the historical narrative of this explainer, I really want to take a second to step back and connect directly with you all. The creators of this source material wanted to send a huge, heartfelt thank you out there, especially to our diaspora viewers tuning in from abroad and all the university and high school students who keep finding these awesome parallels between these ancient historical accounts and their modern coursework. We are so profoundly grateful for your comments and your support. Honestly, our ultimate goal is just to make Islamic history accessible, engaging, and deeply relatable to your everyday lives.
And hey, speaking of our community's growth, we have officially crossed 36,000 members in this space. That is wild, and the momentum is only growing. It's just so inspiring to see so many focused learners coming together to reflect on these truths.
Looking ahead, we've got some really exciting plans for you. When we hit our next big milestones, like 50,000 or 100,000 members, we're planning this massive, interactive live quiz session, complete with prizes for the top 3 winners. But on a more personal note, straight from our source creator today, there is a very humble request for your prayers. The creator has actually been battling an ongoing illness for the past 3 years. Your thoughts, your prayers, and your continued support seriously mean more than words can even say.
I want to leave you with this final thought to ponder, and I'd love to hear your takes in the comments. If a mighty king, who literally commanded armies and empires, could pause, listen, and learn his absolute greatest lessons from a tiny ant in the dirt, what overlooked voices or small moments in your own life might be trying to teach you something profound today? Thank you guys so much for joining this explainer. Stay safe, keep learning, and may peace be upon you all.
সম্মানিত ভিউয়ার্সরা, আপনাদের যদি এই ভিডিওগুলো ভালো লাগে তাহলে আপনারা লাইক, ফলো, শেয়ার দিয়ে আমাদের পেজের সাথে থাকুন। দেখা হচ্ছে নেক্সট ভিডিওতে।